In the previous lesson, we actually made a web page from a template file that is actually in Dreamweaver. So what we want to do now in this lesson is make multiple pages based on that page we already have created. So if you have been following along, you should have files in your My Site folder. And if you are just joining us, go to the Lessons folder, and we're in Lesson 10. So just copy and paste those files over because we're going to be working on this index HTML page right now. So I'm going to go ahead and launch Dreamweaver. And if you could just double click on the index HTML if it's not already open. And you can see this looks fairly good, but I want to do just a little bit of cleanup before I start duplicating this page. Okay, so if I just take a look at it, notice right here it says Insert Logo. Well, I actually do want to insert an image right here, and this will be sort of our home page image. Okay, so that's my first job. Now, the big thing about images is I want to make sure that all of my images live in the Images folder that's part of my site. So I'm going to go back out to my desktop, and I'm going to go to the Assets folder, and in the Images folder, I want to go ahead and locate the index PNG file. This is a PNG file, so it does have some transparency, and you'll see what this looks like in a second. But since I'm going to be making multiple pages, I'm going to go ahead and select multiple PNG files. So I'm going to select the index PNG, the location PNG, this contact PNG, and I'm just holding down the Command key since I'm on a Mac. Hold down Control key if you're on a PC, and you're able to select multiple items. So you can see that I'm going to select this index PNG. That's going to be my home page image, my location. I'm going to make a location page. I'm going to make a contact page, and I'm going to make a menu page. Not only am I going to have a different sort of header graphic, if you will, but I'm also going to have a different background. So while I'm in here with that Command key held down still, or Control key if you're on a PC, I can select all of those files. We'll just do an edit and select copy. I'll go back to My Site, and in the Images folder is where I want all these files to be, so I'll do a paste items. And there happens to be one already in there, background home. I'll just go ahead and replace it. Not a big deal, it was already there. And now I'm set to go. I have my images in place. So I'm going to go back to Dreamweaver. So just click back into Dreamweaver. With this same page opened, I can go ahead and double click on Insert Logo now. So just double click on Insert Logo. And now I get the opportunity to replace this image with an actual image file, the one that I just moved. So I'm going to go to Restaurant Paolo, My Site, Images, and I'm going to locate that PNG file. So again, go to Images, Index PNG, and select Choose, and it will drop it right in there. So that's looking a lot better. I'm really liking that. This is for the home page. It's just getting it squared away. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and change these link names over here on the side. So obviously I will want to change link 1 to something specific, so I'll just type in home, because that first link is going to be for my home page. The second one is going to be menu. Just type in menu. Third one, I'm just doing a click and drag, so just do a click and drag over those two words, and then just type in location. And the last one will be contact. Just like that. Alright, so these are squared away. I haven't actually linked them up to other pages yet. I'm going to do that in a second because I actually don't have another page created. But I'll just give it one more once over. Looks good for my home page. I'll take a look at my CSS Styles panel. So if you look at this CSS Styles panel, and again, if it's not open, just go to Window, CSS Styles. Notice how there's this Paolo CSS file that's actually attached to this index HTML, but it is a separate page. There is this sort of style rule that actually doesn't contain anything. So again, part of the cleanup, I can just go ahead and hit Delete Embedded Style Sheet. And delete that, and now that looks really clean. The last thing I'm going to do is change the title. So right up here, Ristorante Paolo Belletti, just like that. Hit enter, and I'd say this is good to go. So this is the fun part. I get to save out this file, and now I get to go ahead and duplicate it. So in order to make a new page, you would just do it just like you do in other programs. I could do a file, and I can just do a save as. In the same page, I'm going to go ahead and save it as something else. So I'm selecting Save As, and I need you to change the name to Menu, because this is going to be the second page we're going to create. So type in Menu HTML, make sure you're saving it to the My Site folder, which should be listed by default. Click Save, and here's my menu page. Now I want to start customizing this page. So right up here for the title, one thing I want to do is give it a specific title name. I still want to indicate that it's part of this website, but it is a separate page, so I'm going to just do a dash and type in menu, just like that. Sort of move from the top down, because the second thing I want to do is replace this image. So I can just double click on it, and it actually takes me right to that images folder where I initially located that ping file. But again, this is the menu page, so you can see there's my menu ping file that I will select. That originally came from the assets folder. I moved it into the images folder. Click choose, and here's that new image. So far so good, except for all of this content. Of course I need to get rid of it. So I'm just going to select this image, click delete. A lot of this text, well, you know what? I don't really need it either, so I'll just select it all just by doing a click and drag. I can click delete, and now I get to go ahead and grab the appropriate content and paste it right in here. So I'm going to go out to my desktop, to the assets folder, and I'm going to open up this website content txt file. Just double click on it, and I already have that home page content, but right beneath that is the menu page and the content for the other pages. So just go ahead and select this word menu. If you do just a click and drag, clear down to select all of these items and clear down to the good old desserts just before location page. But this is all the content I want to select. So I have it all selected. I'll do an edit, copy. And again, this content could come from anywhere, could come from an email. And the point is I'm able to copy that content, go back into Dreamweaver, and I'm going to make sure my cursor is right in that white space, and I'll do an edit, paste. And there's my content. Pretty straightforward. I will do a little bit of styling. Say for instance for this word menu, I will select it, and I want to go ahead and apply the header style to this word menu. So with it selected, I'm going to go to the properties panel. This gives me all the properties for this item. I'm going to make sure the HTML tab is selected, and I'm going to change the format to heading 1, just like that. All right, that's looking pretty darn good. I'd say this page is done, so I'll just go ahead and save it. All right. My next step is to link these two pages together. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my index.html page, so I'm going to click on that tab, and I want to link this index.html page to that menu page that I just created as well. So I'm going to select the word menu in this navigation off to the side, and if you look down in the properties panel, there's this pound sign, and it just basically means, hey, there's nothing here, but I will be a link of some sort. And what we need to do is we need to replace this pound sign with a relative URL, and I'll explain what that means in a second. But what I need to do is I need this to link to that specific file, this menu HTML file right over here. Okay, so that's what I need to link it to. So there's a number of ways to do this, but what I'm going to use is this .2 file. So this little thing, this little icon right down here, looks like a target. If I click and drag, I get this arrow. So just click and drag, and then just point to that file you want to link to. I'll point to it, and there it is. It just basically drops in the name of that file right in here in place of that pound sign. So now this is actually, this index.html page is linked to the menu HTML page. The big thing to note here is this is a relative link, okay? So if I happen to move files around, I just need to make sure the index.html and the menu.html files are in the same location, and everything's going to work out great. And that's the power of having a relative link. Nothing is going to break if you move your site as a whole, okay? Another way of doing things is to do an absolute link, and that would be when you type in sort of http://restaurantepalobalete.com/menu. That would be an example of an absolute link. And you'd want to use absolute links for external links, such as this Tuscan right here. If I select it, we take a look at that link path. That's an absolute link. So all that to say, you want to make sure that you're dealing with relative links when you're linking to anything within your site. All right, I'm going to sort of move on down the line. I have menu HTML. Well, you know what, this home word, I do want this to link out to the index HTML. So again, I can use the pick whip and point to index HTML. It happens to be the same page. That's perfectly fine, but I do want to make sure it's there. I haven't made the location HTML page or the contact HTML page, but what I can do is just select that word location, and then right in here for the link, instead of pointing to a page that doesn't exist yet, which I can't do, I can just type in location.html, just like that. So again, just type in location.html. I'll select the contact word there, and for the link, contact.html, like that. Hit enter. And now I have this navigation all set up. Remember, these are relative links, so I do have to make these two pages, which I will do in a second. But what I'm going to do next is I'm actually going to just click and drag to copy these 4 menu items. And I want to copy them and paste them into the other page, because obviously I'd need to do the same thing for the menu page. So with those 4 selected, I'll do Edit, Copy. I'll go to my menu HTML page just by clicking on that tab. You'll switch to that layout, to that page, and do a click and drag to select those items, and just do an edit, paste. And these now have the correct links. So now those pages are synced up, the menus are exactly the same. I'll go ahead and save this page, this menu HTML. Click back on index.html and go to File, Save as well. And now I get to go ahead and test this out. So this is going to be fun. We have our 2 pages that are linked together. So go to File, down to Preview in Browser, and I'm going to preview this in Safari, but select whatever browser you have. Here we are. I'll go ahead and select Menu. It will jump to the menu page. Select Home. That takes me back to the index page right here. And notice that I'm actually testing this site locally. All right, let's move on, because we do have 2 other pages to create. So I'm going to go ahead and close this browser and go back into Dreamweaver. And with this index.html selected, I'm going to go ahead and do a Save As, and I'm going to save this next file as location. Select Save. Here's my location page. All right, starting at the top again, in the title, go ahead and type in a dash location, hit enter. We'll replace this image right up here at the top. I'll just double click on it. It will take me directly to that images folder. Locate the location.png file, click choose, and there's that image, so everything's looking good. Again, working sort of from the top down. I want to remove this content, so I'll select that image, click delete, select all this content right here, click delete. Okay, so I just did a click and drag to select all that text and deleted it. Again, the same process, so I'll go out again to my assets folder, that website content.txt file with it open. Location content actually is not that long, but go ahead and click and drag to select it, copy it, go back into Dreamweaver, and then paste that content. Again, just be mindful of where your cursor is and paste that content in. Okay. So far so good. I'll select our location With that word selected, I want to apply the header style to it. So in the Properties panel, HTML tab is selected, select heading 1, and there we are. All right, that's looking pretty good too. I just go ahead and save this page now. Location page is done. Last page is going to be the contact page. So File, Save As, I'll type in Contact. Click Save. All right, here's the contact page. Again, starting at the top. You're always going to want to customize the title and make it specific to the page, because contact, this will help search engines. I now have multiple pages with the title Ristorante Paolo Belletti. So when it comes to, say, searching for this restaurant in Google, I now have 4 opportunities for one of these pages to be hit by the search engine, or actually to come up in a search engine. So again, if I'm pretty explanatory with my title, that's a really good thing. Think about how do people search, what will they search for, and that's what you'd want to go in this title area right here. Okay, that's done. Again, this image, I'm going to go ahead and double click on it, and I'm going to select Contact, PNG, click Choose, and there's that image. Moving on down, this content right here, I'll just select it, delete it, and let's go ahead and get the appropriate content. Back out to the desktop in that same TXT file we've been dealing with right down here. It's pretty simple. We just have contact us, an address, and then a email address. That is selected. Edit, copy, go back into Dreamweaver with my cursor in that content area, edit, paste, and there we are. So the last change I need to do for this page is, of course, make this a header text item. So selecting Contact Us, change the format to heading 1. Awesome, that's looking really good. So I'll just do a last minute save. I have all the pages squared away, and remember, I've already linked together these pages. Even before they were created, I typed in, say, for the location, location HTML and contact HTML. So now I do get the opportunity to go ahead and test this. So File, go down to Preview in Browser, test it in the browser of your choice. Here's Contact Us. I can go to Home. There's my home page with my home page content. Menu, location. Now this site is really coming together. I'm really liking it. But I'm going to take this a step further, okay, because I want to customize this even more per page. Obviously, I have a different image up at the top, but what I want to do now is I actually want to put a different image in the background for each page to really make each page look special, okay? And you're probably wondering, how are you going to do that? Because that background is actually in the Paolo CSS file. It's all in that one CSS file. Well, how do you change that? I'll show you how to customize CSS content per page. It's a great way to again, control all of that content. Okay, so we'll just start back with the Contact HTML page. That background comes from this body right here in the Paolo CSS. That body, if I just expand this out a little more, you can see it's pulling from that background home, okay? And what I want to do is I want to overwrite this with a different image, okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and minimize that, just kind of hide all that content, because I want to attach an additional rule that's specific just to this page. Okay, so down at the bottom of this CSS Styles panel, I'm going to click New CSS Rule, and I'm going to redefine that tag. So from the selector type, I'm going to choose Tag. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and choose the name of my selector. It's going to be the body. So I'm selecting body, because I'm going to redefine that element. And right down here, this is the important part. I get the opportunity to define where this rule will be. Okay, so I can either have it in this document only or back in that CSS file. Well, sure enough, I want to make sure it's only in this document and click OK. All right, so far so good. The last two steps is by going to the background, change that background color to black in case the user sort of scales out their page really large. They'll just see black in the background. But right here for background image, this is the important part because I want to browse to a custom-made contact background. Kind of a nice blurred out image. That's going to be my background image for the contact page. So with that selected, go ahead and click Choose, and this is the new background that will be used. All right, that's all I need to do. I'll click OK. That's my new background. That looks really good. I get more of a visual representation that I've traveled to a different page and just gets to show off sort of more of the restaurant, some of its flair. And let's take a look at the CSS Styles panel. Because right over here, it applies that CSS page and then applies this style right here that's specific just to this document. And that's what is meant by cascading style sheets. It actually cascades down. So you do have CSS that's defined, and then it sort of cascades down, and pretty much the last thing that is applied is what actually gets applied to that page. So the last thing in this list is sort of overwrites anything prior to it. So that is perfect, looks good, and now I can go ahead and move on. So I want to do that for all the pages. Let me just go ahead and save this page. So again, I want to apply a different background for each one of these pages. So it's going to be that same process for all of these pages. So I'll go back to this location HTML. I'm going to apply a new CSS rule using the CSS Styles panel. It's going to be a tag, and I'm actually going to redefine the body tag right there. It's specific to this document. Select OK. Go to background, select that black background, and then browse to that image you want to use. So I'm going to go ahead and browse to the location, background location image. That looks nice because that's more location related, so it works. Click Choose and select OK. It applies the CSS and then that specific style for that one page, so that works out great. I'll save this page. Let's go to the menu page. And again, that same process, new CSS rule. We're going to redefine that tag, and we're going to redefine actually the body selector to be more specific. Okay, it's only going to put it in this document. Go to the background category, and really you can pretty much redefine anything, which is nice, again, if you want something specific to that page. And lastly, this background menu JPEG. Click Choose. Select OK. Beautiful. That works out well. That menu is actually, this menu page is sort of more of the restaurant, the kitchen area. So I'll save this. And this is the fun part. I'm going to preview this in a browser. So select whichever browser you have. Here's that page. You might need to refresh just in case. But again, beautiful background. For the menu page, I can click on Home. There's a different background. Location, that looks pretty nice. And Contact. It's different for all of these pages. Remember, that background is actually locked. Remember how I actually selected Fixed for that background. I point that out because all of the CSS, of course, is applied to the page, but again, I was able to customize it per page, which really gets to be like an important technique if you're making multiple pages. You get to make them look different. So again, that was just a quick and easy way to take a sort of a current page you have, duplicate it, not only customize it, but add your own CSS flair for each page so it does look different. So in the next lesson, what we'll do is we'll actually add some more dynamic content to each one of these pages.